Well, we have overcome some technical difficulties and finally got ourselves organised over here. I'm so excited and privileged to have Dr. Vonda Wright here today. I know this conversation is going to be so important, and I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit selfish here because I'm one of your biggest fans. But Dr. Vonda is known as a surgeon, a researcher, and an advocate for active aging. And today we're going to dive into her new book, Unbreakable, but we're going to talk about lots of different topics because I have a few notes here that, I want to talk to you about. But thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Australia has become one of my favorite places on earth.
Well, I was lucky enough to meet you, obviously, at the So Hot Right Now conference in Sydney earlier this year. And actually, I did the clinical conference where I got to actually learn in depth from you, and that was fantastic. I had this as a question to ask you throughout the podcast, but what did you like most about Australia, seeing as we're starting here?
Well, number one, I didn't get as far around the perimeter as I will next time I come, but from the places I've visited and up the coast, it's just a gorgeous piece of land, right? So there's that. Number two, I love that women live to about 85 years old, which is longer by many years than women in the United States. And when I went and was walking around Sydney Harbor and the beaches, I'm like, these people are all active. Look at these people. But so I like those two things. But what I really loved is that I think the general atmosphere of everybody I met is that you guys are all just a bunch of badasses. I mean, you've got this attitude, this French would say le joie de vivre, and I can't even pronounce that, but this real joy and effort. I mean, who wouldn't want to be around that?
True, true. I
Yeah.
think generally, I don't think everyone is, but I think generally,
Oh,
like, I think the sunshine might have something to do. Mind you, you guys have lots of sunshine too.
we do. I'm in Florida. We have lots of sunshine. But anyway, I think, well, it's the people I love the most. That was in reverse order, obviously. But
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. Yeah. Well, I am going to start with this because a lot of people might not know that you actually started your journey as being a nurse.
I
And
did.
my daughter, we have three girls, and my middle daughter is actually an ICU nurse, and she is
Oh,
just studying to do the GAMSAT here to be a doctor. And
oh.
yes, and so I wanted to start with this because I wanted to know, as a nurse, what inspired you to go on and become a surgeon? Like it's a hard job to do this.
Um, well, I think there were a lot of reasons. I think the reason I personally decided was because I love learning. I mean, I loved being a nurse. I was a cancer nurse and I was pushing chemo. And at that time, we weren't as good as curing women as we are now. And we still have a long way to go. But at 22 and 23, I learned life lessons that have stuck with me forever. But then I was promoted and I was promoted such that by about 28, I thought I had learned what I was going to learn. So I had some roads to choose, right? So one road I could have stayed in nursing and gotten a doctorate in nursing, but many of the nurses who do that go straight into administration. So, and never touch patients again.
Hmm.
Or I could have gone straight into research and just done bench research, gotten a PhD.
Hmm.
Um, or I could do great research and I could go to medical school and still take care of patients my whole life. And that's what I chose. I didn't realize going into medical school that I would choose nearly the longest path, which is to become a surgeon and an orthopedic surgeon, because I didn't finish until I was 39 years old. So, but
Wow.
you know what? I know it was a long course of study. I gave up my youth for it, but I mean, I don't regret it. I love what I
Yes.
do. Yeah.
Yes. It's interesting because Emma is 24, and so she's talking to me about I'll be 30 when I become a doctor. So I'm so excited to tell her your story.
You know what? I just, as you talk to her, I had to have a real moment where I'm like, listen, I was going to get out of medical school at 32, right? I went in at 28. I was going to get out at 32. And then I had my whole residency to do for 7 more years. And I had to have a real moment with myself and said, listen, whether I'm doing what I want to do or not what I want to do, I'm going to turn 32.
Mm-hmm.
So I might as well be doing what I want to do. And so
Mm-hmm.
that was it was very helpful to me to jump over that barrier.
Yeah, good. I would definitely, well,
You
she'll
know,
definitely listen to this, but it's really interesting because we are journeying that with her at the moment. And I'm like, this is really interesting. I'm sure, you know, as you move on, you're immersed in, what you do now, and now you're writing books, and you probably don't often think back to your journey. And we often don't do that as human beings. We're so in the moment, but actually that's where you started, as being a nurse. So I think it's
yeah,
an interesting thing to, kind of dive into.
it is.
Yeah. We also have a mutual friend in Adam McDonald's.
Oh, really?
Yes. So Gary and we just actually walked our dogs this morning, had our rucksacks on, and I would love to explore a little bit about the weighted vests because I'm a fan, and there seems to be on social media, and we'll dive into this a little bit as well, just some controversy about the weighted vests, and I think they're a great tool, but I would love to hear your take on it.
Well, why do you wear your weighted vest? What is the
I just
goal?
I just think they're such an easy way to up spec your exercise. You put
Okay,
your
so
weighted
that,
vest on, it's
yes.
like a no-brainer.
Well, that is the answer that I was hoping you'd say, because I too like to wear a weighted vest because I find that when I wear it, my heart rate increases about 10 beats
Mm,
above what it would normally. For instance, if I'm wearing it when I do my base training, my low heart rate brisk walking, on a treadmill when I do it to get my heart rate to 130, which is my zone 2 brisk walking pace. The incline is between 4 and 5, and my speed is 4 without a weighted vest. With the weighted vest, I don't need that much incline or
mhm,
that much speed because the load of it just increases my work, right? So I think that's a great reason to wear a weighted vest, number one. Number two, studies have found that wearing a weighted vest while you jump, do
mhm,
multi-directional jumping,
mhm,
is good for bone density.
mhm,
Number three, and I am going down this pathway. I got to back it up with some research, but because now it's all how I feel. But when I wear one of the rucksack weighted vests that goes all the way around, it's not just a little strap on vest, it
mhm,
comes all the way around, zips up the
mhm,
front, cinches in on the sides. It's like a hug.
mhm.
And it calms my nervous system as if it's vagal nerve stimulation. And then I
Oh,
was talking to the rucksack people about it, and they're like, oh, yeah, parents with kids on the spectrum are using it to calm their children. I'm like, well, it makes so much sense because one day I was wearing it around my house for some reason. I think I had gotten a new sample in the mail and I was just trying it on. And I'm wearing it, and my daughter's looking at me. She's like, you still got this you still got the vest on, Mom. I'm like, because somehow it's making me calm. And the
true.
more I talk about it, people are like, oh, yeah, that's just like a weighted blanket. It's
Yes.
good for you. I think the controversy on Instagram, and I've seen it everywhere, like everybody's talking about, oh, the claims that, but I've been saying this. I mean, and I'm the bone chick right now, right? But uh, the claims that simply wearing a weighted vest will help build your bone density, I don't see the studies to support that strongly, right?
Mm,
Tiny, tiny
mm,
studies. But if
mm.
we're saying weighted vests are an easy entryway for people who are not athletes
Yep.
to exercise, right? How do I spice up my walking? Just put a little load on. If we're talking about the studies that do show wearing one to jump is better, or now this hug thing I'm talking about, okay, do that.
Mm,
But if we're
mm.
relying on it solely for our bone density, I just don't see the data to support that.
No, I agree with you. And I think that also comes back to nothing we do is one thing. It's like we kind of talk about, I like to use the analogy of a jigsaw puzzle. It's all these little pieces of the puzzle. So you're never going to improve your bone health with just one thing. There's
Yeah.
going to be a number of different elements that affect that. And that this is where I see, so actually, and this is something I wanted to talk to you about, we kind of segue straight into it with social media being so confusing. So I've obviously been in the space a while, and I know you have been. I think right now it is probably the most confusing time for women, just the
Mm,
general population, trying to decipher between what to believe because they have so many conflicting pieces of information being thrown around.
mm.
What advice or what would you say to people? Like, how do they decipher? Like, what do they believe?
What do you think are the most confusing things? Is it all about hormones? Is it all about different things? What do you think is the most confusing thing?
I think so as someone who helps women with their health, I get people asking me questions all the time, much like I'm asking you. So I'm offered deciphering, well, someone said this and then someone said that. So I think like, big figures like doctors, researchers having conflicting information. Also, I think bits of clickbait. So maybe it's a sentence and there's no context to it. So
Well, there
yes,
is that, isn't it? Yeah.
yes.
So yeah. Number one, I want to assure people that debate and discourse is part of the scientific process. Just because female doctors have different takes on a piece of research does not mean we're catfighting. That is what men do too. That is the scientific process. If you went to a scientific meeting, you would see people standing up at the different microphones in the lecture hall having a debate. It is normal. So for anybody not in the academic arena who thinks, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, these people are arguing," this is what we do in academia.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay because that's sometimes how we get to consensus,
Mm-hmm.
actually,
Mm-hmm.
is debating the relative points. So that's number one. I just want to assure you that we should not label what women are doing disagreeing as catfighting. It's it's uh it's insulting, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
Number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, I think you can go a long way in understanding somebody's credentials, right? I mean, are you a certified fitness professional? Are you a registered dietitian? Are you a doctor and surgeon, right? And I'm not saying that lay people can't have read a lot of things and be very wise, but if we're trying to say, okay, who are we going to believe? It's so hard. I mean, I don't know. Start with people who've spent 22 years of formal education and taken 4 or 5 board exams and have to redo that all the time. I mean, that is not a perfect system, but it's one way
Mm-hmm.
um, to decipher. And then I'm going to say, ladies and gentlemen, you have to take responsibility for your own education because you are never going to get the whole story in 90 seconds. And sometimes people think I'm confusing. I am not confusing, but I am only confusing when somebody has edited a 3-hour podcast into a 90-second clip for clickbait. As you've said, of course it's confusing when it's taken out of context. In fact, that's why I very rarely, for print reporters anymore,
Mm-hmm.
give long interviews, because what they do is they take one sentence, often misquote me, and
Mm-hmm.
print it where it lives forever. So if you are ever confused
Mm-hmm.
by any clickbait type thing that you see, I suggest you go and listen to the whole podcast,
I
And if
love
you're,
that.
whether it's me or somebody else, and if you're
Mm,
still like, what did she say? Well,
mm,
then maybe it's truly confusing, but
mm.
it's usually just the 90-second clip. But people, I mean, as a clinician, if you all guys ever fly over here to see me, I'm going to ask you to take responsibility for your own health because it's
Yeah,
your health.
yes.
We're
I,
just
lo-
here to guide you.
I love that so much. That's fantastic. Listen to the full episode, get the whole story. And also, what I like to encourage people to do on top of all of that is you actually have to take some of this and try it yourself. So if you are listening to something and you're like, okay, maybe I'll try this weighted vest, go and try it. How
Yeah.
do you feel? What happens to you? Like, you need to put things into practice yourself and then make some decisions for yourself. Like, don't just listen to other people and take
Yeah.
their word as gospel. Take it and use it and then make some decisions yourself.
Well, and and I got a question today because people, some of my website stuff leads to an email box that I see, and I do get questions with some regularity. I'm just writing you to make sure what you said would work for me. I need 100%. Number one, I don't answer those, so don't ask me personal questions. But number two, that's exactly what I think. I'm like, I can't guarantee you it's going to work for you, but you can try it.
Yeah.
You can, see how it'll help you. Yeah,
Yeah,
I love that you
definitely.
said that.
But I think sometimes we're in this space where, unfortunately, as a society, we, one, want everything yesterday. We don't want to work for it. We want
Mm,
someone to tell us what to do. And so we need to actually have, that's why I asked you the question, like, you need to take some responsibility, people listening to this, like, take this on and then go and put it to the test. Like, it doesn't do anything if you don't go and try it. So, yeah,
yeah,
I think that is a big part of it.
yeah.
Another mutually like friend we have in common is Dr. Bill Campbell. So I wanted to talk to you about, and I think this goes into why I probably connected with you. I've been following you for years, and Dr. Vonda was an athlete as well. I was an athlete. And I think this is why instantly I just like connected, because everything you said just spoke to me. And I don't know if you're aware of the new study Dr. Bill's been doing, but it's actually on active women. So it's the
Yes, I'm a
first.
part of that. Yeah.
Yes, me too. And so have you heard some of the emerging research coming from it?
He sent me 3 abstracts to approve before he published them, but frankly, I can't remember exactly what they
Well,
said.
I was on one of the lectures with him recently where he was talking about some of the emerging research, and I thought it was interesting, and he was quite shocked by some of the statistics coming out of it. So there's more than 4,000 women that are involved in this research, and
Mhm.
more than, well, 55% of them are using HRT. And he was
Well, these are
absolutely,
active women. This is a
yes.
tainted sample.
Yes. So, and he was like, why? He kind of threw it back to us and said, why do you think it's so high? Like, we know that, like, the statistics currently are only like 5%. And then I've got this, bunch of 4,000 women that now it's 55%. And I would love to hear your take on that. What
My
do you
take
think?
on it? Oh,
Yeah.
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 Oh, it's easy to explain. We recruited for that study. I got online, as you were, and lots of us involved, and we're
Yes.
like, Dr. Campbell's doing a study. You got to participate. We're going to find out about you. Well, that's not a population study. That is the Vonda and the Chanel followers population. Who are our followers? People who know what we think about certain subjects. So, would we say that there is bias in the participation recruitment? Not purposely, but how you recruit is necessary. So I don't know if I would apply that to all active women, because people who follow Stacy Sims, for instance, might not be on as so apt to be on hormone optimization because she doesn't preach as strongly about it as I or you do, right? So
True, true.
that's how I would explain it. I would not explain it as a blanket statement that all very active women, which is what he's studying,
Mm,
are on HRT
mm.
unless we recruited in a different way. But but that being said, I love that 55% of all the women who want to be active in midlife recruited by this sample. I mean, I think it's just great.
Yeah. I kind of thought maybe as as active women, and I think coming from being an athlete, we, and I know not all of the women will be athletes, like, however, when you are an athlete, you are much more open to using like supplementation, like you're already looking for performance.
But I think that active women and athletes don't view hormones the same way that they view supplements. I mean, because I think it would be very interesting if he recruited from the feisty menopause group who are
Mm-hmm.
active competing midlife women still on podiums, or
Mm-hmm.
Stacy Sims group.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he may say, Vaughn, I accounted for all of that. What are you talking about? But before I draw conclusions about percentage of women, is this a real thing in active women? I would make sure that bias was accounted for.
Hmm. Hmm. That's interesting. I hadn't thought of like that. That that's why I was interested to ask you. Speaking, and this wasn't like I didn't think about this until now. But talking about athletes, what is your take then on female athletes who are competing using testosterone and or not being able to use testosterone because they are competing? Like,
Well, I think that you know, my day job, if people don't know, is as a orthopedic sports doctor, and for about 5 years, I sat on the international World Cup rugby doctors group. We made decisions
oh,
about athletes,
my
right?
husband will be a fan. He's a big All Blacks fan.
Oh, he is. I've historically, I haven't done it in the last 2 years, but historically, a rugby doctor, rugby sevens, and
Oh,
U.S. men and women's team. So I love rugby. Actually, we could talk
he's
about rugby all day.
he's not very happy today because of the All Blacks lost last night. But
Oh, how
anyway,
dare they? Yeah, how dare they? I didn't think it was possible.
so
Um,
either did he.
what was the question? Oh, we're talking
Sorry, testosterone. You were,
about
yes.
what we did in international arenas were when an athlete was transitioning, or they identified as a woman but were born with XY chromosomes, we looked at the levels of testosterone in relationship to their competition, because we know the levels of female of testosterone in a woman versus in a man, right? A woman, when we're actually optimizing testosterone, we want to keep it less than 100. That's the number in the United States,
Mm-hmm.
45 to 100. Because over that, sometimes you can, with pellets especially, you can push women into an unwanted transition.
Mm,
So this gets me back to your question, which is, should actively competing athletes, midlife athletes in their 40s, like endurance athletes, be allowed to optimize testosterone as they do estrogen and progesterone? They're not allowed right now.
no.
But if we wanted to explore that, we could choose a level of testosterone that we say this is what normal testosterone is for a woman when her everything's still functioning perimenopause,
Mm,
and optimized to that level,
mm,
which takes constant blood work. But the good thing is that we do monitor testosterone now. If
mm,
we were going to do that, that's what we would have to do,
mm,
because that is the same kind of thought process that goes through in international sport when you're trying to decide, is this person eligible to compete as
mm,
a woman?
mm. And it is interesting. I know the athletes that I work with are just petrified of testosterone because because of competing.
Yeah.
So I guess we've got some work to do there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about your book. So, Unbreakable.
Can I show people? I
Yes.
love some free copies. Here it is. It's kind of
Now,
pretty.
what number of book is this? You've written books before.
I have written, I'm looking at them now. I've written one, two, three books for consumers, meaning women who read books. So Fitness After 40, Guide to Thrive, Younger in 8 Weeks. And I've written two textbooks,
Oh,
one called Masterful Care of the Aging Athlete, and one called Raising a Healthy Youth Athlete, because
oh,
I'm an orthopedic sports surgeon. And so,
yes.
yeah. So
Wow.
this is my sixth book that,
And so, how long between your last book and this book?
oh, so long, 10 years, a decade. Yeah, it was a
What?
long, well, my last consumer book was 10 years. My last textbook actually was in 2018 and 2023.
Okay. And
Yeah.
what was it that you saw that this book was missing? Like, there's a gap for this one.
This is the first book specifically written for women on longevity. Because one of my goals internationally is to change the narrative on aging for women. And in fact, we were talking about my long career. When I got out of my fellowship in the early 2000s, and I was thinking, what am I doing in this career? My career mantra, it's fantastic that it's never changed, is the change the way we age in this country. And originally I meant the United States, but now that I know people globally, we'll change it around the world.
Yeah.
And what do I mean by that? I mean to dispel the myth that is in nearly every culture that aging is an inevitable decline from vitality of youth down a slippery slope to decrepit and frail, and that there's nothing we can do about it. And that gives us a really hopeless, like, what am I even going to work for
Mm,
attitude. But the reality is that my own research and the research of many other good scientists have shown that with the daily investment in our health, and we can talk about all the pillars and all the fancy stuff, we can be healthy, vital, active, joyful long into the foreseeable future. And my own studies, which are all done on master's age athletes defined as 40 and over, out of the Olympic pathway. You can't be an Olympic endurance athlete and get in my study, but you can be a competing recreational athlete standing on the age group podium. And what I found in summary is that we preserve our muscle, we preserve our bone, especially when we do impact sports. We we do not slow down. This is the very first study we did. We do not significantly slow down until we are in our mid 70s, right? So, and the example I give, because, I don't know if you guys have Hallmark in Australia, but Hallmark is a greeting card company in the
yes,
United
we do.
States.
Yes, we
You
do.
do. And
Yes.
so, what do the birthday cards look like for a 50-year-old? They're black with rest in peace, like the Grim Reaper. I mean, if you believe that, which is complete hogwash, um, it's not hopeful. But in this study on asking the question, can performance time be a biomarker of aging? We found that prior to about age 70, there was less than 2% decline per year in times.
Wow.
And that over 70, 75, depending on the race, it went up to about 8% per year. So you really do slow down then, but
Mm-hmm.
not at 50,
Mm,
at
mm,
75. And
mm.
so if we're becoming old and hobbled before then, you got to ask yourself, are you just tired of working out? Are you so injured from your youthful injuries you just can't? Or, you're like, I don't care. I want to have some fun. I'm not going out on a Sunday morning and beating I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of reasons, but it's not all aging.
What do you think the reasons are that because I know my husband and and I'm going to absolutely admit that I probably stole your your mantra when I met you in Sydney, because that is my mission too for everyone I work with and everyone I get to touch, is that we change those statistics of aging. They're just so terrible. The falling and breaking a hip, the and even I think you were the person that quoted it. You know, we do live to 85 here in Australia, but our quality of life is absolutely terrible. And I'm just like, that is not going to happen to me. And
No, no,
so
it's not.
I don't want that for anyone I get to teach or coach or help,
Mhm.
or, we can start changing that.
Absolutely. But it doesn't start at 65. It does not start once you retire. It can start. I mean, your body is miraculous. It will get stronger and change. It's best if we start in our youth or never stop, right?
Mm,
It's if we
mm.
establish standards in our youth and then never stop.
Do you think it's us as a society that, like, it's a actual conditioning that the whole society, because I feel like I'm an outlier, and there's more people now getting on the bandwagon because we're talking about it, and like women are starting to lift, and like, but actually, is it society that is setting us up for like not progressing into living well? What do you think it is that we have? Why are we in this state?
I think a lot of reasons. I think it was at the turn of the century, 1900s, men lived in the United States, probably the same in Australia, to about 46 years old. And we don't even know how long women live because they didn't keep records on us. But it wasn't a very long lifespan
Mm,
proportional to what it is now. It's doubled. So there was probably never the need. You're like, you're
mm,
not going to live.
true.
So, but then also, I think people get used to, and I certainly do. I mean, I'm not perfect. Get used to feeling fine. I
Mm,
feel good enough. I'm fine. You don't
mm,
feel vibrant. You're not
mm,
jumping all over the place. You
mm,
don't feel peak performance, but you're fine.
mm, mm.
You're
So
fine
this.
until you're not fine.
Mm,
Health span, I think I presented these data in Sydney also. Health span lasts till about 63. So you can be fine. And then because of aging, the biologic changes with aging and chronic physical neglect, you hit this tipping point where you
mm,
don't have any reserve.
mm,
And then you end up in the doctor's office 3 days a week as like you retire and all of a sudden it's your job to go to the doctor's office.
mm.
So
Yeah.
I think those are some reasons.
Mm,
Um, we're fine with being fine. I also think that it is genetically programmed to be min max,
mm.
meaning I want to do the minimum to get the maximum
Yes.
because our brains may or may not realize that we are no longer agrarian or everybody's not farming with their hands anymore. Or we're not
Yes.
surviving long cold winters anymore, huddled in a cave or wherever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Our bodies, minds might not know that if we're sitting around all day,
Mm,
right? And so I think it's genetically predetermined to survive and to do the minimum to get the maximum
true.
versus just go out and sweat it out every day and work hard, even though it makes you feel amazing. And ultimately it makes you last longer. But I think until you get the daily reward for it, there's this banking concept that I talk about called temporal disconnect. Because in banking, or we're planning for our retirements, financial planners cannot get the average human to save money now for 20 years in the future. That is a hard concept. At least in the United States, many people live paycheck to paycheck, even
Yes.
if they can afford to save, right? Because it feels better now. That is the same thing. I mean, you
Yes.
must get this as a health coach and nutritionist. I mean, it feels better to eat the bonbon now than to not eat the bonbon for 20 years ahead in our health. So this temporal disconnect
Mm,
means that until it feels great in the moment, you're
mm,
not likely to do it for the future. And I'm just as guilty as this as anybody. I admit openly, until I am done with my workout, and walking off where the rack set or off the road feeling like a badass because I just did this thing. I'm not in love with having to go do it. It's just not in me
Mm,
until I'm done. And I'm like,
mhm.
that was great, Vaughn.
Yeah, 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 for sure.
I
And I
don't
think,
think that's
I, I
uncommon.
think a lot of people would say that though.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it's not uncommon.
no, I think
Yeah.
so. Um, and so the book then,
Oh,
your
the book. Sorry,
the
I
book.
can go off.
No, well, we've got. Well, I want to make sure that we're getting people buying the book because
This is
let's
the
talk.
first book on female longevity, right? I am teaching you in section 1 the science of aging and longevity because you're smart. And I don't want you to do a 6-week program just because I tell you to, because that is not a lifestyle change. That is just another 6-week program.
That's
So we
right.
teach you the science of aging and how we call the things that happen to us metabolically time bombs. And then we're going to teach you how to build shields against those. This book is miraculous in that it has a whole chapter devoted to something we created called the Unbreakable Assessment, which we took the research showing the top 8 measures that can indicate longevity, such as VO2 max, grip strength, sit to stand, step up speed. There's 8 of them, and then we took the research and we weighted it, meaning what of these 8 tests is most important, next important, and then we teach you how to do it, both in the book and we made an app.
Oh,
We did. And so you can either do it digitally or you can do it in the book. We teach you how to do it in the book. Like, here's the steps to doing a VO2 max on a track. Here's how you squeeze I don't have one here, a grip strength goniometer thing. Um, then you get your 8 scores, and then you either add them up or go to the digital site, and we'll give you an unbreakable assessment score, not as a judgment, but as an objective thing to say, I'm going to go now do what she says to do, and we'll do it again in 6 months or 3
mhm.
months, right? Because you cannot know where you're going unless you know where you are, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
But this book is about physical resilience, and I'm going to teach you all the ways that I prescribe exercise, what I believe about nutrition. There's a big menopause chapter that connects what you're doing to estrogen and menopause. But the surprising thing about this book is that I think mindset mobilization is critical. And here's what I
Amazing.
mean about that. Yeah. If I'm sitting here in midlife and I cannot look to the future because I am always looking to the past and saying, oh my God, 26 was the most miraculous time in my life. I mean, I'll tell you for sure, 26 was physically easier for me. Almost everything worked at every time, right? But it was probably harder socially. I had decades of education to go,
Mhm,
11 years of no sleep yet to live, right? I
mhm.
mean, we think it's easy because we can coast through, but the mindset mobilization is first figuring out in section 1, what do I really value?
Yeah.
What are my values? Because no amount of goal setting is effective unless you know what you value. For instance, I value my independence. I want to do what I want to do, when I want to do it, whenever I want to do it. And that takes a little work. And if I
Mhm.
value that, I'm going to have to invest in staying this way. Because when I'm an old lady at 97, which is the number I target, if I want to ask for help, I'll ask for help, but I don't want to have to ask for help or
Yes.
be pushed around unless I want to be pushed around in a wheelchair, right? I
Yeah.
want choices. Well, if I value that and I make a goal, that gives me a reason to do all the hard things, right?
Purpose.
But
Purpose.
then in the end of the book, we go even further and we talk about how to build hardiness. Hardiness is the part of resilience that can be trained like a muscle.
Wow.
I know. And the research for hardiness was done in prisoners of war, current Army Rangers, the really tough people, and people born with terrible congenital problems.
Mm-hmm.
And what the researchers found in those three groups were a set of 10 common characteristics.
Mm.
Yes. And do you know one of them was physical activity? Even prisoners of war used physical activity as a way to gain control
Mm-hmm.
and to have commitment to living.
Mm-hmm.
And so we talk about hardiness, and because, frankly, growing old is not for sissies. It's
Mm.
sometimes very hard. So we need
Mm.
the physical resilience and the mental resilience to live our best lives. And that's what this book is. And by the time somebody closes this back cover, I want them to be more hopeful than they started.
Well, I was already excited to read the book, but I'm even more pumped up to read it now, hearing all of that, because I have been talking a lot about mindset with all of my clients and on my program recently. And I think it's such a massive part of us achieving, like you said, anything, our goals, anything we want to. And also,
Yeah,
like you were just talking through the book, I'm so excited about this because if we do not have purpose, we have nothing.
right.
And
Let's
this is kind of going full circle into our conversation, is that as a society, we do not want to be doing the things now for what is going to save us in 20 years' time. But this gives us purpose. So you'll do this test and you'll get your score, and now you'll have purpose to make that better in 6 months, and then do another test, make that better in 6 months. So I'm
Mhm.
very excited. This is great.
Yay.
So exciting.
People
So
have told me, I mean, I'm a little close to it to be objective, but people have, I use it. I have one-on-one clients also. And as I build them an Unbreakable blueprint, which is a full-on plan, and I'll say things like, okay, your workout starts on page 251 because you've been doing this a while. I want you to start on 251. Or I had another client last week who was stepping away from the couch. I'm like, well, you know what? We're going to start with body weight. You're going to start on page 236. So it's actually like a workbook almost, or a really nice. It's just not telling you things. It's it's actually telling you how to do things.
well, that was going to be one of my questions, is like, what is the best way to use the book? So
Yeah,
obviously we can read it like cover to cover, but then we
yeah,
can actually use it as like a reference book to keep.
yeah. So this is how I think people should read it. Because here's the good news: there are
This is
three.
what we need to know because this is going to be part of the book club. So talk
Oh,
us
see,
through it.
book club. This is how you should do it. It is a whole appendix of exercises, nutrition, injury prevention. Right. It's almost half the whole book. So how I think you should read it is just take a weekend and read through this part because you're going to have it all in your head. And then when you're ready to take action, whether it's taking action to identify your values and set some goals, or to do the Unbreakable assessment, or to actually start on section 2, which is exercise prescription and my thoughts on nutrition, go back and layer each one. Because I have found with people, if you try to do 97 things at one time, you do nothing. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're like, okay, today, for instance, in my exercise programming, I use an acronym called FACE, Face Your Future, FACE. F is flexibility and mobility, which is joint range of motion to me.
Mm-hmm.
You could start with that on the first day. Learn to do the dynamic warm up, learn to do your joint motion. And then the next day or the next week, layer, when you're confident in that, layer on FA, aerobic. How do I say to work your heart out? Next one is C, carry a load. Figure out if you're starting off the couch or if you're starting heavy lifting. And
Mm-hmm.
finally, layer on E, equilibrium and foot speed, and do all the funny little jumping things I teach you. Because if you just go out and try to do everything at once, it's overwhelming. But especially in a book club, everybody could go and try one thing at a time and come back and report.
Yes, well, we're going to normally I have my book club in my program, but we're going to open it to the free protein challenge, which is open to everyone. It's the free protein challenge that I run, and it is starting in a couple of weeks. So everyone can join us, and we're going to kick the book off in there. And Dr. Vonda is actually going to participate in the book club. So throughout the book club, as we journey through it, she's going to give us some tips and tricks and things for us to focus on, which is very exciting. So the free protein challenge as a nutritionist is something I run because I see this being an area where women struggle with, like with their nutrition. And it basically helps you learn how much protein you need to eat. And then over the week we have together, you will learn how to eat enough protein for you. I'll provide recipes for you, and we will kick off with our book club in there too. So this is an opportunity. I think we had 600 people in the last free protein challenge. So everyone can get their book ordered if they haven't already. I've got mine coming my way. So this is, as you know, very exciting because you've heard what the book is for us, and now we've got a way of being able to put it into practice, and then we'll have Dr. Vonda helping us through it.
Sounds like fun to me.
Can't wait. It's going to be amazing. So I feel like we could just carry on chatting for ages. There's so many things we are on the same wavelength about, but I'm very mindful of your time. I'm so grateful that we have been able to connect, and super excited to do the book club with you. Now, if you are not already following Dr. Vonda, she has incredible content on her Instagram at Dr. Vonda Wright. We will link everything and how to find her. If you haven't already, go order the book. You're not going to want to miss this one, and get in on the book club. Any lasting thoughts or advice for women who may be listening to this going, this is me, I need to get myself sorted?
There's a concept I talk about in the book that every athlete goes through, and I actually got this from my husband, who is a professional hockey player, and we were talking about what it takes to keep going and keep going. And he says, Vaughn, everybody thinks getting to the end of the goal. For hockey, it's getting to the playoffs and then the Stanley Cup, or to the end of a program, or to the end of weight loss, or whatever your goal is. That's what everybody looks forward to. But in the middle, between making a goal and getting to the fun part, there are real, what he calls dog days. Those days that you're grinding it out. You're like, what am I here for again? It's hard to see the end of the goal, the feeling amazing, because some days are good, some days don't. And he says those are the real days that count. And so when I talk about those days, I like to remind people that those are the days when you have to remember that you are worth the daily investment that you are making. It is for you. It is not for the other people that you serve. You are worth this investment. And so please just keep doing it.
I love that so much. It's so true, because if we kind of that analogy, put your own oxygen mask on first, you actually fill your tank up, and it affects every other relationship in your life, right?
Right. Yes.
Well, thank you so much for being here, and super excited for the book club, and have a wonderful rest of your night. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.